Well, as you can see, it's a very hot day today. We knew it was going to be. Anyway, you can see my trees at the front. I didn't do them last year. I was going to do them in the spring, then hurt my arm, so I couldn't. So I thought I'll have a go and start. They really want chopping back. I don't care if I'm left with a few sticks, you know. They need cutting much then, will they? Anyway, I did one, and my arm started hurting, and it was a bit hot, so, and not feeling 100%. You know, some days, as I've told you, you know, there's just a few days I'm not feeling 100% fit. I've been alright for a fortnight, thankfully, but just got to take a bit steady, you know, and I drink some water and we seem to get right again. Anyway, I decided to walk to the shop. Now, I feel know that I wanted to make a tractor cushion, and I've been asking for some leather. Well, because I decided to walk to the shop, I walked past the house, and guess what? Outside, Starfind. Look at that. I mean, that is perfect. It's even the right colour. You know. Now, so, a lot of people moan at me for saying, oh, you know, I'm a big fatalist, because all my life, without exception, right? And I've told many people this many times. Oh, no way you can make fate work your way. No, I can't. Right? Sooner or later something turns up. Now, I've never found one of these chucked out in the rubbish before. And I've never needed one before. Fact. Right? I wanted it for a couple of weeks. Been asking people for some leather to make a cushion. And the perfect thing turns up. Not nearly perfect. Perfect. Fact. Right, so I'm going to get on, give me something to do today. I've got plenty to do, but not that much I can do, for different reasons. So we're going to get on and do that. It's filled with them little white pellets, and I don't need them more, it's a bit soft. It's the right size, because my cushion out my car that I've been sitting on for travelling, it is a bit bigger. The one that I made, that you've seen, for the sack, for the show ring, is actually a bit small, and I tried it and it's a bit spongy, so this will make the perfect cushion for my tractor. So I've dragged my old machine out and we're going to have a go at that. Right. So anyway, the first job is going to be to empty this out of all these little white pellets, which have got to fly all over the room and make a mess and be a bit of a job. So I won't bore you with watching that, to be honest. And then I've got to unpick it, because although it's, as I say, it's the perfect size, but it doesn't want to be that tall, obviously. But I've got the filling to make it firm. So it wants to be just a thick cushion like the other one is, about that. And it's got the zipping. So I think if all I have to do is to unpick this seam round there and basically lower it to about there. Refill it and we're made. I mean, I've got a perfect cushion. I couldn't even have got a, you know, a bespoke leather maker to make me one as good. You know, so we'll see how we go on. Well, I will show you where I've got to. Well, there's one here, look. Well, it's nearly like bagging feathers. And they stick. That one isn't doing. But they do that. So I ended up having to scope them all out with this cup. And if you look there, I can see that there's some stuck inside this into old static charge. So it's been a bit like bagging feathers. Anyway, I can't use that. So I did think about this beforehand. I'm going to cut that foam up. I've got loads of it, look. And cut it up in small squares and stuff it with that when I'm done. However, that's a long way away. I've started unpicking, and I've done one seam on the outside, if you can see that. I've still got that to do, and the problem is that the unpicking tool that I've had for years, that we inherited from someone, in the sewing box, I broke it, years ago. I think I was doing my boat canopy. I had to unpick something. I broke the end off it, so it's still working, but it's just not 100%. So anyway, I've been, what have I been? An hour and 3/4, I think this is. So it's got to take a while. I'm not on the clock, it doesn't matter, does it? Anyway, I thought I'd just give you that bit of an update. So it's going to be a while before I start cutting it and sewing it together, but I think we can do it. Well, I've got all the overlocking done. I don't... The young girl, it says here, made in India, so I'm assuming that a young girl, it might be a young lad, it could be old granny, I don't know. But anyway, old granddad, who knows. Anyway, they were enthusiastic with the overlocking, and I've got all that done. And this tool, even though it's making it a little bit difficult with the end being broken off, I couldn't have done it without it. And if you look, I can maybe show you, you maybe see, you maybe can't, that it was actually done using a white and a brown thread. I'll just welcome as close as I think you'll be able to see, about there, and that's brown thread and that's white thread. So it was used with double thread on the outside. Now the other bit, I've just started somewhere there. There's a hole there I've made. I made a bigger one somewhere, but never mind. Oh, here, I've started on this seam. Right, here, I knew I'd started better. Turn it around. There we are, I think you can see it. I'm too far away for you to see, but it's just to show you this tool does actually work. So as long as I'm very careful, in fact, once we've got going, oh there we are, that's a lot better. Well, we're getting there. We've got that piece unpicked and fairly clean. It's not come too bad. I've moved the bits of cotton up, so that's all right. I'm sure you can see that. So the next job, obviously, is to cut it to the size I want. Cut it down to the size I want. Now this is going to be much more difficult because it's sewn together, and if you know, I take a bit of pride in my work, but if to do it absolutely properly, it wants unpicking on there, and you go a bit further than you want, and then of course you can cut dead square. But because of my machine, you know, and we don't have the modern machine and everything, I think it'd be better to leave it and just cut it there and then sew it. Just cut it there and sew it onto it, you know. So we're going to have to, as usual, make a small compromise, but I think it'll be alright in the end. You know, as you can see, although the bottom is fairly good, it's fairly square actually, and that piece is square. You know, I don't think it's going to turn out too bad, but we'll see. Remember, it's only for a, you know, a tractor cushion. I'm using that red one that you've seen several times. So we'll see what we go. So the next thing is to decide how deep it wants to be, which I think it doesn't want to be very much. How thick it wants to be, because it wants to be firm, and it only needs to be about that, I think, because that other cushion I made with the foam, that thickness, it sunk too much. It wants to be firmer than that. So what I'm going to do is just fetch that cushion out my car and just see how thick that is, because that's ideal for riding about on, as I think this will be. Right, so that's the next thing. I'll go and see if we can decide how much we need. That's the next thing. I'll go and get it. Well, we're getting there. I've got it marked out, and I've done it 4 inches. The cushion in the car, sat on, is about 3 inches. You know, 3.5 really fluffed up. So 1/2 inch for a seam, and I'm pretty sure that's enough. And it's not come too badly considering it together. Of course, when it comes to sewing it, I'm going to have quite a serious problem, aren't I? I know that, because I can, you know, I've got to fold it out, and I'll just have to do the best we can. And the corners, obviously, and near the corners, on 2 of the sides especially, have to be done by hand. I know that. And I commented about the good work, didn't I? Well, I found a bit here, look. Not quite such good work. I'll just run a bit of stitching down that. But anyway, there we are. So, I'll get that cut off and then we'll have a go. See what happens, eh? Because I haven't sewn with this machine for a long time, and it's got cotton in, and I haven't tried it on this leather. I haven't got any thread. I have got, however, it's like a little bit like it was used on that, which is like a nylon hard thread. I sewed my I've got plenty of cotton here, look, but I've got this, which is like a very fine nylon thread, very strong, which I sewed my boat canopy with on this machine, so that's alright. But I think that appears to be the best I've got. We're not very worried about colour, are we? All the other doesn't seem any, it seems thinner than that actually, to be honest. So I'm going to, I've got dark blue there, that's a, no, that's fairly strong, but I think, yeah, that's the same. It is. So I'm not touching tension or anything. It did sew last time I used it. Whether it will sew now, I don't know. So all I've done, I've put just a piece, cut a piece of that leather off the roll, which I've cut in two, and I'm just going to see if it will sew down here. That's all I'm doing. And we'll just see. It may not do it right. Well, it should do it, but I might have to adjust things. That's all. So, we'll put the belt on, which you can do on these, which in my case is a bit of baling twine, because I didn't have a leather belt, so whether it will do the job or not, well, how stiff it, I might have to tighten it a bit. It has to be tight, I do know that, to go. It does have to be tight. You're supposed to be able to flip it on and off at will, but you can't. So, well, it turns that okay. Whether it will turn the machine okay, I don't know. So let's try and find out, shall we? So as I say, this cotton is simply what was in the machine, which I'm pretty sure sewed the last time I used it. It's going to knock and clunk a bit, we know that. But just to see if it sews, this is. Well, I've had some delays and that, and the machine didn't want to play ball, and the thread kept breaking, so I've had to play with it. I haven't used it for a long while. However, it sewed alright to start with. I'm not sure if I showed you this in the last bit or not. So it sewed that alright. Then the thread kept breaking, so I've changed the cotton, and it's a bit pinkish, but it's alright. Look, it's sewing alright now. That's the main thing. And I've had to play with it. I've had my visitor. I'm doing something to eat. Nip round, and normally I would have cooked something tonight, but it's a longish cook, and so I shot round to buy something a bit expensive, shepherd's pie or something. It says, oh, you can't cook from frozen in the microwave, and you've got to cook it in the oven. So anyway, I'm defrosting it in the microwave and cooking it, so we'll see what happens. I might still be here tomorrow. Anyway, that's what we're on with. So now, I think I'm in order, I think we're in line to actually have a go at the real thing. And, oh, stab myself with a pin. What I'm going to do, attempt to do, I should say, is I'm going to see if I can sew down here, down this seam. Now it's going to be a bit difficult because I've not got flat pieces, have I? And I've not got a proper machine with edges, so all I've got to do is sew down there from the end. That's the first thing I must do. And I changed the cotton because this is slightly thicker cotton, I think. Well, I'm pretty sure it is. And as I say, it seemed to sew. You know, we're not doing it for the Ritz Hotel, are we? We're doing it for a bloody tractor seat. So it it should be alright, I think. So I'm going to see if it sews down here a bit, and I'll check it when I start. I'll show you that bit. And then we'll have a go on this seam, which it looks rounded. You won't be able to, I won't show you, you won't be able to see it. But it actually does look rounded. And I've got to take the pins out as I go. So we've got to be organised. So, in a moment, we will do that and just see how we go on. And of course, this is the easy one to do, isn't it? The other, it's going to, as we go along, it's going to get harder. Well, let's have a go and see what happens. Hey? We can't do any more. What I want to do is sew slightly inside that line. So I'm starting there and I'm leaving the corners open, and then at the end I'm hoping just to sew them in a cross pattern, because I haven't got any attachments or anything. So we'll just, as I say, we're simply going to see how we go on. Well, we're not going on very well at the start, are we? Because, I mean, cotton's come out the needle for some reason. When you do these machines, now here's one of my problems today, of course. Even in daylight I've struggled to see the hole in the needle. And at night time, with the light alongside, I'm struggling even more, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, we'll see how we go on. We can't do any more, can we? It's there somewhere. You see what I mean? It gets a bit difficult to see, and somehow hit that hole in the needle. There we are. Look at that, I've got blood already. I've pricked myself on a pin. Oh well. Again, like I said, we'll see how we go on, because I don't want too many lines of holes in if possible. But you saw on the last bit, it sewed alright. So I honestly can't see how it won't sew properly on here, as long as I'm fairly even, you know, with it, and keep it flat. I think it should sew. I do honestly. So we'll try it and see, and just see how we get on. You know, it's got, as I say, I'm not cutting all this video out. You know, we'll show you the bad bits, show you me struggle for a change. Eh? Well, for a change, we always struggle, don't we? But let's just see if this will sew this up at all. We'll find out, won't we? In a moment. Well, that's sewn that alright, so that's highly encouraging, isn't it? By the way, I defrosted that meal that you can't defrost in the microwave, and I'm just leaving it for 5 minutes. It was warm-ish, be alright. Then I've got to cook it as per instruction, and then we'll see what happens. Because it's too late to be messing about tonight. So what I'm doing, I'm just going on the outside of these holes of what's already there, just down the edge of the foot. And so any curve or anything, you know, is down to the original stitching, not me. Well, yeah, that's sewing alright, that is. So that's highly encouraging actually, considering the problems we seem to be having so far. Anyway, so we'll continue. Problem is with it together, it's all getting very lumpy at the end, so we're going to have to just deal with it when we get there. Can't do anything else. All it's got to do is stuck together, isn't it? I mean, you could use glue if you wanted, I suppose. You know, but I don't want to glue it. It wants to be properly stitched together like a proper leather cushion. But as I said, you know, the fact that it's quite stiff, and this machine does handle it. By the way, my friend brought me some leather, but it's a bit too thick. It's a bit like shoe leather. He brought me some to do the job, but it's a little bit thick. So, but we've got this. You know, we've been lucky today, haven't we? We've got this. So let's get that straight as I can. Press that there, and hope that we go the right way around. Yeah. I can sew up to the pin, which is right in. I don't know any other way of doing it. I don't know if you do. If you do, tell me. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't mind. I don't mind learning. But this does seem to be working. It's still, yeah, it's still attached. The thread hasn't broken, so, you know, we could just be making a little progress, couldn't we, at last? Right. So we'll just go down to this next pin, there, and I pinned it well, by the way, in lots of places, because I want this first, this is what's going to hold it together, you know, for me to do the rest of it. So we're going to have to see, like I said, I'm just going on the outside of those pinholes that are already there. Those, sorry, the stitching holes. When we remove the stitching, you know, when we're outside. So we'll see how we go on. Right, now we've got a little run to this end here. There we are. Right, we'll take the last pin out. Now I think for this, even though there's a bit of stitching here that they did that's in a bit of a lump, but I think for my purposes, what I should do is go right to the end with my first one. I think that's the best thing to do. So we'll give it a go, see how we go on. It could have been that there was slightly, I don't know, rust or something on the cotton or the needle or something, but it's certainly... Right, I'll just show you this. That is in fact, can you see? That is in fact well stitched together. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know, so that's encouraging. A little bit of a ruck there at the start, but that can be done the other way now, which will take care of that. So as I say, that's encouraging. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I won't bore you with sewing the rest of it, because it's going to be more of a struggle and take quite a while. I'm then going to sew it again. I haven't got an overlock or attachment, obviously, although you could get them. So what I'm going to do is put 2 or even 3 lines. I might put another thin line just inside the stitching of that one. You know, just a foot's width inside, and that'll be plenty strong enough, you know, because you see, if you've got a proper overlocking machine, you do it like that and do the edge, and it makes it a lot stronger. Anyway, there we are. Right, so we'll get on and do this, and with a bit of luck, you'll see the finished sewed up cushion cover. Well, excuse the pun, but this 100-year-old old girl has actually ran like a sewing machine once it got going. I'll just show you. So you can see this. I'll put it near the light. Look at that. I've done it triple stitched each row, and look, they're very, very strong. You know, so that's done a good job. I think you can see enough to agree It has, honestly. It's done a very good job, that has. See? So now, you just have to turn it the other way around, open the zip, which is harder said than done, because of course the tabs are inside, aren't they, if it's inside out, and just turn the whole thing inside out again. And then I've got another little bit of a laborious job, haven't I, because I have to cut that foam up to go inside here. It would be nice if we could have just chugged a lump in, but it's too soft, so it needs compacting, you know, and I can't use the stuffing I took out, it's miles too soft. So we're going to have to somehow cut that up into lots and lots of little pieces, and that's got to be laborious, isn't it? But other than that, I think you'll agree, well, you've got to agree, I'm not bothered if you don't. Alright, I mean, well then move. Right? I think you'll agree that's going to make a pretty decent tractor cushion for me, and it's exactly what I wanted. And remember, found it by chance today, chucked it out in the rubbish, someone's rubbish. How about that? So you've got to stuff some stuff in there, and also I haven't got any, I've had a look, it just needs a dubbing. It's leather, isn't it? It just needs running over with dubbing, and that's going to be good. But if you look at the seam I've done, you know, I'm sure you can see it's just as good. In fact, I'm not sure it's better. Dare I say it's better? Look at the corners. You know, look at their corners. Can you see that? Right, so I think that that's done a pretty satisfactory job. I'm well pleased with it. And that, even the double bits on the zips in here, on the corners, it even handled that like it wasn't there, so there we are. Right, we'll get cutting up some right, we'll get cutting up some of the foam into little pieces. We're going to need quite a lot. Luckily I've got a lot, haven't I? As you know, I've got all this here, you see, got all that and that down there, so we're not short of foam, but it's just going to have to be cut up in lots of chunks. Maybe like that sort of size, you know, but I think it'll be easier than pulling to pieces and do it with a knife. Right, so we'll have to get on and do that, won't we? Well, it's just gone 9:30. I started at 1. We'll break for tea and a visitor, I know, but anyway, I've cut all that sponge up that you saw there, that biggish lump, and I'm going to have to cut the rest of that up into squares, position it better, but if you look at that, I think you'll see that's going to give the desired effect, isn't it? Just about right, so, you know, we're pretty happy with that. Anyway, I ain't got any dubbing, as I said, I'll get some tomorrow probably. And resharpen the knife and cut all that sponge up there and shovel it in here, and we'll call it a do. But yeah, that's not come too badly at all. Obviously the zip will be underneath, you know, so I think that's going to make quite a nice leather cushion. Well, it is. It's going to make a very nice leather cushion, that is. Just about what I wanted, so as I say, pretty chuffed. Pretty tired though. Alright. Hope you're enjoying this messing about, and you get to see my sewing machine still working. You know, so I suppose we've got to say it's been successful, haven't we? Right, good night.